Welcome to the Education and Empowerment Podcast. In this show, our hosts explore success and advancement through education by interviewing today's top leaders in the fields of education, business, and technology in order to provide insight into what it really takes to succeed. This show is brought to you by ForStay, a SaaS-enabled online booking marketplace for student and intern housing. ForStay provides turnkey, all-in-one, cloud-based accommodation software solutions for colleges, universities, and organizations. Learn more at offcampus.forstay.com and landlords.forstay.com. All right, let's get into the show.
Welcome to another great episode of Education and Empowerment Podcast. This is your host, Bakhtiyor Isoev, and today I'm coming to you with an episode of learning languages and connecting students to their future opportunities. As we all know, language learning is essential for young people. It is the magic key that opens doors for global jobs and international opportunities. With many methods and resources to learn from, the major question for many educators is how do we connect young people to future opportunities through language learning? In this episode, I'm bringing you Nicholas Sacco, the founder and owner of Connect English, who will share with us the best practices around student education and connecting students to their future opportunities. Nicholas Sacco was born in Northern California and moved to San Diego in 2000 to attend University of California, San Diego. He received his degree in international relations and soon began working in international education. After teaching in Tijuana, Mexico and Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, Nicholas returned to San Diego and founded Connect English in 2008. With a fresh and energetic approach to affordable education, Connect English has provided English language learning experiences for international students around the world. The school has trained well over 10,000 students, many of whom have already transitioned to colleges and universities in the United States and abroad. And many more have gone to join the workforce with communication skills and confidence needed to succeed. Without further ado, welcome to our show. All right, welcome to Education and Empowerment Podcast, another amazing episode with Nicholas Sacco, all the way from San Diego, California. We're bringing you some of the most prominent educators and professionals who've been in the field long enough to share their story with us today. So without further ado, Nicholas, welcome to our show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is great.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So we usually begin our conversation with a motto or a quote or something that wakes you up in the morning.
Yeah, well, I love it. But actually, I'm kind of famous among my friends for having a lot of mottos and mantras that I live by. I'm going to say my favorite is thrive and contribute. Those are just the two things that I'm trying to do, which is to obviously do the best to be a healthy, happy person and enjoy life, but always consider that I can give and that what I can do is what I'm able to do is to help a lot of people. And so for as much as, a lot of folks just serve themselves or humans. A lot of us don't realize how much we can help others. And so my mantra is to thrive and contribute, do my best to live a strong, happy life, but also make sure that I'm giving and helping as many people as I can in the best ways I can give with my abilities.
That's amazing. So throw us back to a time where you decided to help others and begin Connect English. What's your story?
We can back up to even before Connect English a little bit, when I first had an opportunity to teach in Tijuana, Mexico. So here in San Diego, the city of Tijuana is right across the border. It's a 20-minute drive. So I had an opportunity in my 20s to go down to Tijuana and just teach English. And I didn't know, I wasn't good at it, I can tell you that, but I knew that I could help out a little bit with an organization that was going down there. So I got the chance to try it out in Tijuana, and it was just as a volunteer. So if I didn't teach perfectly well, it was still fine. But then, that lit the fire with me to get into education more seriously. And, after I graduated from college, I went into international education. And when I returned to San Diego after teaching abroad, I realized that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I worked for a couple of other schools and learned a lot and strengthened my teaching skills. And then realized that if I wanted to really have the impact that I felt was most effective, it was going to be through starting my own school and making sure that it was affordable and also effective. So that's the inspiration. It was really literally on my 30th birthday in the year 2008 that I made the first purchase of anything that was officially Connect English. I bought the URL for $24.99 on my 30th
Wow.
birthday, and I said, "There's no going back now. I just paid $24.99." So that was the beginning of Connect English with my business partner Adam, and the rest has been a challenging.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, Nicholas, this is, truly something that, I'm sure you're proud of. And as you kind of, look back, I'm sure you remember, all of the different stories of students who now became successful and
Yeah.
and now, are really very good at, what they do. I was wondering maybe, you could give us that example of, how you learned, what those challenges are for those students, back then versus now. Do you continue to see the same challenges for students that, wish to learn language?
Well, the challenges I've been able to see have certainly changed. I think some of them have remained the same from the beginning of my career to now. And of course, some have changed. But I remember when I first started teaching, it was really just language challenges.
Hmm.
So, my job as a teacher in the classroom was really just to make sure that students felt comfortable and felt like they were making progress with their language. And then as my career went on and I got promoted into new positions at those other schools, I got to see a lot more of what challenges students were facing. I don't know what year you moved to the USA. You've been here for some time yourself, but I'm sure you're challenges of moving your life to a new country. And so, as a teacher only, you're helping a little bit with that. You're answering students questions about, where they can go get shampoo, or something like that. And
Yeah.
you're helping them get more comfortable with having a conversation in these, everyday situations. But when you start into the management of a school, you have bigger responsibilities with the students. You have to help them navigate the student visa process,
Right.
which sometimes is complicated and sometimes can be straightforward if we give the students the right information. And then also, housing, obviously, as you know,
Right.
a big challenge. Almost every city has higher housing prices, so we've got to help students navigate ways to get the right thing that's not going to drain their bank account upon arrival.
Right.
So we've got to have, the great suggestions and ways to make sure students feel confident about where they're going to live when they come to the USA. And so those are two of the big ones, the visas and the accommodation. The
Right.
education side is something I've had experience with right from the start. So, it's been great to help with the language skills, but it's a fun challenge to help students navigate those other things as they plan to really change their life and move to another country. Nobody's going to forget the time when they moved to the USA and what it did to change their life. It changes everyone's life when they move here. So we get to be a big part of how an education experience can change a student's life. And that's why we like cooperating with y'all.
That's amazing. Likewise, likewise.
Mm.
And I think, as you are kind of, sharing this with us, I'm sure a lot of our podcast listeners would be
Mhm.
interested in knowing what makes Connect English unique. Like, why should other people consider Connect English? Like, what makes you stand out from the crowd?
Yeah, I'd say that the number one fundamental difference between Connect English and most other schools is that we were founded by teachers and we are operated by teachers. So the teaching at Connect English is always going to be the most memorable, most noteworthy part of what we do. We have a lot of other things we do that I'll brag about. But from the beginning, the teaching always was and always will be why Connect English is special. My business partner, Adam, and we're both English teachers. And so when we hire our teachers for our team, we put them through a very rigorous interview process. And
Wow.
our best teachers, we love hearing from them that their interview to join Connect English was the hardest interview they've ever had. And it's because we aren't going to just someone get their resume and bring them in. That's it. I was hired at two different schools really in that way before I started teaching English. I'd say actually three different schools hired me without really even talking with me. They saw my resume and offered me the job. And I was content with my teaching ability back then, but too many teachers have a nice looking resume, but not the ability to manage a classroom well and not the composure to deal with the challenges of being a good teacher. We focus on teacher quality from the beginning. We put our teachers through a surprise grammar quiz on the
Oh,
telephone.
wow.
When we first call our teachers, we say, "Hey, do you have time for a quick grammar quiz?" And some teachers go, "Oh, I can't right now." But other teachers say, "I'm ready. Let's do it." And then they pass the grammar quiz and we say, "Okay, let's take you to the next phase of the interview." So that's one thing that's special about why our teachers are so capable at Connect English. We make sure they have a base of grammar so that students can be confident that they can ask all the questions they have. So our teaching is clearly the strongest thing that students will note and notice at Connect English. Our teachers are supported well. As a teacher myself, I make sure that our teachers get the support they need to do their best, and
Right.
that carries over into quality in the classroom. So teachers are quite happy with how much we are willing to do to make sure that they're doing well, and they like that, and they take a lot of pride in their work. Other things that we do really well is my personal job now. As the school has grown, my job is planning activities and planning really adventures and experiences for our student community. So
Right.
the teaching side is being managed by our team very well, and my special job is to make sure that we plan some really fun things to do in San Diego. We've got excellent weather year round in this city. So it would be a shame to not use that excellent weather and go outside and enjoy the amazing beauty of this city. We're going to the Del Mar County Fair, which is a big fair with all the Ferris wheel rides and everything, and the food. We're going to that in the month of June. We do hikes every month. We do a hike around San Diego. It's got beautiful parks and mountains. We're going to a baseball game tonight to see the San Diego Padres play against the Pittsburgh Pirates. We're taking about 50 students to that game with us. We go to the San Diego Zoo frequently. So, the students are very confident with the classes they get, and then they love that we make it so easy for them to explore the city. It's a beautiful city, and we love when students enjoy it. And that's also a great way for students to activate their language skills by going on these adventures and using their English in the real world with, if you've got a Brazilian student, a Korean student, and a Kazakh student sitting right next to each other, they're going to have to use English. And so getting them together at a baseball game is a great way to activate their skills. So that's the kind of thing that students really love.
That's amazing. That's amazing. There's been research that, about 80% of learning happens outside of classroom. And it sounds like you guys doing an amazing job there with that.
Exactly. The real life experience is really going to be the difference maker. The classes are going to give you those fundamentals to use the right verb tense and the right vocabulary to go out there. But if you're going to use it in the real world, and that's where you're going to start feeling truly confident and make sense of all the things you're learning in the classroom.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I'm almost about to say that you should quiz me now, but I think it's going to take very long for us. Well, it's great to hear that, Connect English exists. And I've been, reading and learning more about it. And, definitely, one of the contributing factors to your success is the whole support system that you developed. And I was wondering, for, the interest of our podcast listeners, if you could perhaps elaborate on your leadership in the space and, walk us through what some of the trends that you're seeing in language education.
Yeah.
With COVID, we have seen a lot of the different new models, and there has been just language. There's things like language plus, right? Like language plus accommodation, language plus programming class, or language plus certain activities. But and there's been a lot of discussion in the industry about what's going on. Enlighten us on what you're seeing in language education these days.
Yeah, well, the pandemic affected us very strongly, like everybody. So I sat there for a long time and thought, poor us, poor Connect. But it was happening to everybody. And so, when you realize that it's not a struggle that was unique to our school, it kind of motivated us to just make sure we continued to excel and to be stronger than the others in what we could control, which was, great service and our ability to adapt to the challenges of language training during the worst of the pandemic. We made a very quick and pretty successful jump for on-campus classes to online. We saw the storm coming, and so we invested a lot of our time in what will we do if things go horribly wrong? And when they did, we were ready. Our teachers too, gosh, thanks to our teachers being so good, making the switch over to online classes, we would go in and observe those classes and be like, gosh, they're doing such good work. It's so nice to have teachers that we could count on to be successful with all these new tools and new challenges. So getting through the pandemic was tough, but it also shaped us in some positive ways. The fact is, Department of Homeland Security, thankfully, was willing to change their rules to allow for online education for language students. That was not allowed if a student had a student visa pre-COVID-19. And so the students had to be present in class every day for a certain number of hours per week. And that was our job, and we did it well. But now we have the ability for students to we use a hybrid model now. This is one of the things that has developed. And to back up just a little bit, we just went through our accreditation analysis this week. So that was one reason why it was so hard for me to schedule with you and Joe through this week up until now, was we had so many accreditation expectations. The accreditors were amazed at how well we are able to do the hybrid education model. They said,
Wow.
we've never seen a school that is so capable of doing the hybrid education model as Connect English is. Most schools have fully online or fully on campus, and you choose one or the other. At Connect English, we have the ability to do a hybrid model where you can be an on-campus student, but if one day a week or maybe 2 days a week, you say, I'm better studying from home today. My dog is sick, or my roommate is using the car. I can't go to school. You just get on Zoom and you're in the same classroom. So we've established Zoom rooms where there's a large screen TV in every classroom. The teacher has a laptop and is essentially the MC, kind of the DJ of the class. And it does lend itself well to the communicative model where the teacher just sets the students up to communicate with each other.
Right.
And, so you get the Zoom students communicating and working together. You get the in-class students communicating and working together. And then you get the in-class and Zoom students working together. And so, it's never going to be perfect, and no class ever is, but we've now spent so much time working on perfecting this hybrid model. And thanks to our excellent teachers, all of our students have the ability to do all their classes on campus, some of their classes online, almost all their classes online. And if you're overseas in our program, if you're in Algeria or if you're in Brazil studying, you can do 100% of your classes in the Zoom classrooms. It's a really cool model. We've grown into it well. It definitely came with challenges, but we were so happy that the accreditors saw it. And instead of being confused or doubtful about how it could work, they came into the classrooms and they analyzed our work and they said, this is really amazing how well you guys are doing this. And it makes sense. Our teachers are fantastic and we support them well. So when this change happened, it became a net gain for us, an overall gain, despite some hard times with it along the way. But it's been a wonderful system. And now we get to keep going with it. The accreditors have now indicated they're going to fully approve this program. It's got a temporary approval for now. But from what they saw, they were just amazed. And that will be our trend going forward. We're going to be a unique school in that you will have a choice every day, whether you want to be in the classroom or whether you want to be in your living room or your bedroom on your laptop, if it fits your life. And, and again, during COVID, a lot of students said, I caught COVID and I can't come to school. And we're like, you're right. It's fine. Stay home. They said, but I still want to be in my class. We said, well, that's great. As long as you're feeling physically and mentally up for it, you can be in your classroom on Zoom with the teacher continuing the lesson that he or she started yesterday. Now you can continue the lesson from home on Zoom without missing your classes. Of course, when somebody catches COVID, they should be resting and taking care. But a lot of students were just like, hey, I'm diagnosed with COVID, but I feel just fine. I know I shouldn't go to school. And so this model works super well for allowing us to get through the hard times of the pandemic. And, there may be more coming, but we're ready for it. We, students don't have to worry that, oh, my program is going to get canceled. It's not. We're going to keep going. And nothing is going to stand in our way now in terms of pandemic challenges. We've fully built our school to survive those.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. Well, thank you for kind of diving into that. I think
well, I'm pretty proud of it. So I'm very happy to talk about that aspect. So yeah, I'm glad you asked these questions.
Definitely, definitely. And one of the things that we learn, talking to leaders like yourself is alongside of, looking at what's going on currently, the trends, they also look into what the future is like, right? Like what are we doing today to shape the better future? So as we sort of navigate and hit the proper buttons for the recovery of the whole, educational marketplace, so to speak, there's certainly a lot of good strategies and tools that are being introduced. And, for many of the language school owners and operators, we have started receiving, positive feedback from them that they're really excited about the future. Tell us what the future is like. Like, what do you see? I mean, do you think you will continually see hybrid models, or, will like 3 or 5 years later, we'll still have, in-person classes and online is not going to be there again? Or, there's a lot of conversation around that. We wanted to hear what you think about that.
Yeah, well, there are a few choices or a few factors that are determined by the U.S. government that are going to shape a lot of it. We were happy to see that the Department of Homeland Security and SCVP extended the ability for schools to use a hybrid and online system that they more or less enacted and shaped in 2020. So that has been extended through 2023, through the middle of 2023 at least. And what we like about that is that it seems now that they're allowing this to become more normal for the schools. We do believe that maybe it will end. Maybe the Department of Homeland Security will say it's time to get all fully back on campus. But now at that point, there will be 3 years of experience with this model where they can analyze the factors that matter to them, such as
Right.
security and enforcement. Are schools still able to verify the attendance of their students and make sure their students are not in problematic behaviors? That's one of the biggest reasons that our student visa system was shaped the way it was in the USA, was for accountability and security. And so we believe that after 3 years of doing this in 2023, Department of Homeland Security might change it a little bit, but I believe they will continue to say it's working, and let's
Right.
let's let it keep happening. And it is now opening up education opportunities for folks who are not sitting physically in San Diego, California. We have some students who are in Los Angeles, and they come down and attend the required in-person learning that is part of the Department of Homeland Security rules, but they're doing most of their classes online, and they like it. And we have students who are, one of the things I've loved during the pandemic is that we've been able to access Algeria.
Oh,
We've
wow.
had Algerian students who've been seeing our online classes on Facebook for years, like, oh, I'm from Algeria. I love this. Thank you. And then they say, how can I join? And we would try to help Algerians join, and the visa process was too challenging and the cost
Right.
too high. I mean, coming and living in the USA is expensive. So a lot of Algerians said, hey, look, I make a pretty modest salary here in Algeria. I can't exactly go to the USA. Well, once we switched to online in March of 2020, we said, we should start inviting folks who are in these countries that were always dreaming to come here. We should start inviting them to come to the classrooms. And sure enough, we started asking Algerians, would you like to join the program? And they jumped at the opportunity. So we started having Algerians in our class Zoom, and it was so cool. Some of them had seen my pronunciation class on Facebook, and they had said, wow, I'm actually in a class with Nick Sacco.
Oh,
I've
wow.
been thinking about this for years. And so the online model has allowed us to now give our education to folks who said, I always wanted to study at Connect English, but I just could never I can't just leave my life behind in my home country. And now they have the ability to. We had, like, for example, to talk about some of the sad stories, Iraqis just cannot get visas approved in Iraq. It's so
Right.
frustrating because we can have the best possible students, and Iraqis are not going to get even a visa appointment, let alone approval for a visa. And sometimes they can travel outside of Iraq and get an approval there. And it's so frustrating because they're so eager to learn, and the US visa system is standing in the way. Well, a lot of students in Iraq joined us online in 2020, and they said, I'm actually here. I'm in Connect English, and I'm so happy to be here. So we see that as a continued opportunity. Even if Department of Homeland Security changes the rules, we've now developed our system to allow for Algerians, Iraqis, Brazilians. We've had plenty of folks in Europe, but especially North Africa has now been able to access Connect English. And we are proud to have a new door open to them that doesn't have all of those barricades or barriers to getting into the program that come with the student visa system. So that's going to continue to be open. And other trends we see is that we really feel like the pandemic kind of inspired a lot of folks to say, you know what, I got to get out there and follow my dream here. And we're seeing a nice influx in enrollments. We at Connect English, we're going to see a big summer rush. And
Mhm.
so we'll be calling on Force Day a lot for these students arriving in the summer. And then we're seeing not just these tourist students who are coming for 4 or 6 weeks.
Right.
We're seeing an influx in students who we expect to be in the program for 6 months to a year.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, and so we normally see a summer influx of Italians and Spanish students and French students who are coming for a 6-week vacation, and we love those. But in addition to those, we're seeing now an influx in long-term students, and we like to be that good long-term option because we're affordable, and because we're trying to push those students to go into colleges and universities in the USA. And that is one of the things we're proud of, is that we'll continue with these long-term students, showing them the door from Connect English to, for example, Grossmont College or UC San Diego or these other
Right.
good choices. We're excited these long-term students are increasing because that's just more opportunities for us to create success stories where we shape them, we give them the skills to confidently move to the next level of education, which is a bachelor degree or even a master's or a PhD. We're excited to see this influx happening, and we hope it can continue. We hope that the visa doors open little by little, more and more. We still see a number of countries that, thanks to the pandemic, are not even offering any visa appointments, and they're saying that's because of the pandemic. But we're seeing more and more countries, consulates, more and more countries, US consulates. I don't want to blame any countries for that, but
Correct.
the US consulates in these countries are starting to open their doors and giving, the first types of appointments and then adding more. So we hope that we see more of the U.S. consulates and allowing students to get those visas so they can follow their new dreams.
It's amazing. I mean, I could really feel your excitement and commitment to this. I mean, you just, going
Yeah.
like, this is really, really good, Nicholas.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm really excited about is obviously, understanding and learning, because I've been an international student myself, is that, English is not just a language, it's the language that connected us to opportunities that we would
Yeah.
not otherwise have. Can you give us, one or two examples of those success stories, perhaps, that you have that you're really proud of, like X, Y, and Z student, who probably struggled? We love those stories. Those are
Yeah.
the ones that really kind of wake us up and say, I'm going to have another story like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the kind of story that reinforces our business too. It's a double win in that when we do get students into Grossmont College, for example, that's a community college and it's a nice stepping stone. The natural step thereafter is from that community college into a 4-year university
Right.
and get their bachelor's, master's, or PhD in the USA. And one of the great things that comes with that is that student is now going to continue living in San Diego for a long time, for at that point 4 more years of education if they're doing a bachelor's degree. And that student work of friends, and when a new friend moves to town, a friend of theirs' cousin to San Diego, they say, where should I study? And they say, you know what started me off? Connect English did it for me. So
Wow.
we have a number of students who've come back to Connect English to visit and said, hey, I got my bachelor's degree and now I'm working for this tech company. I got a job
Wow.
working for them. I was able to get a work visa after finishing with my student visa. And so we have had a lot of students who come back to us and tell us, hey, here's what I've done now, thanks to where I started with Connect English. And a lot of them came with, little or no English. And then they walk back into the office and see us a few years
Fluent.
later, stronger than ever. And like, wow, I remember when you were pointing at everything when you arrived because you couldn't say any word. So we've had a number of students who've now come back and talked with us. And one of our best success stories, I got to say, is our student, Fabiana. Fabiana Hauchi is from Brazil. She joined Connect English in 2011 and joined my TOEFL class when I was teaching TOEFL back then. And now I don't teach as much as I used to. My team does. But Fabi joined the program. She succeeded in TOEFL. She transferred from us to UC San Diego for a certificate program. That's where I went to school as well. And after her certificate program, she had a year of work authorization. So she actually said, hey, Connect English, I'd love to come on back and be part of the team again. And so we of course welcomed her to rejoin us as an employee for the year of authorization she had after finishing her certificate. She did a wonderful job helping us open one of our new campuses. But time expired. Time ran out on her work. And so she had to go back to Brazil. She came up with the idea she said, why don't I open a Connect English recruitment office in Brazil?
Oh,
And we
wow.
said, it's a little crazy, but I like it. And so she came up with a nice, solid plan for what she was going to do, what the costs would be, how she could be effective. And that was I guess it was 2014 that she launched it. And she now there are 2 people who work in our office down there, Carolina and Fabiana. Carol and Fabi do wonderful work just helping agents and helping students with the process. They're just there. There are no classes at that office. We're not teaching in Brazil, but as you may know, the Brazil market is a very large market for international education. And they want that confidence that, that their agent and that Connect English's director down there can show them that Connect English is a legitimate school and that they're making the best choice, because every school puts up a beautiful image of themselves, but we try to make it very easy to see our authenticity. And Fabiana, as a student herself, who's now become a director of Connect English, and it has been, has established our branch down there. It's been there for now 8 years. She's one of our favorite success stories because she has now become one of the best parts of our team. And Carol is now working with her, and they're just down there working day and night to make sure that students plan their trip to the USA with confidence. So that's probably our favorite success story.
You got me going, man. This is really, really good. And kudos to Fabiana and everyone who, made it happen. And I guess bigger kudos to you and to your team for, raising, her from a student to an advocate to, someone who's now an evangelist, so to speak, of Connect English and perhaps some of the mission and values that, you've been working on for so long, which kind of brings me to the fact that, kind of as we wrap our episode up, this afternoon, I was hoping that you would leave us with some, words of wisdom. You would perhaps give us some, motivation around educating young people and empowering them to have more Fabians, so to speak. How do we do that?
Well, I would say this. I live my life in a way that I prescribe for others. It's that, yes, you'll have fears and worries and things that will hold you back, but it's human nature to always identify the greatest danger and the greatest threat in our lives. You could have a very wonderful life and you're still worried about the one worst thing in your life. You could have a challenging life and you've got one worry that is the biggest worry. There will always be at least one worry in your life that you're thinking about, how you need to be fixing this. You got to get this done, or why didn't I do that? So it's human nature to always have one worry or more in your life that's stopping you from taking these opportunities. So I just tell people to understand that there's always going to be one worry in your mind.
Mm.
And you can't let that one worry, maybe it should slow you down from jumping into moving across the world, but consider that you will always have one worry at least in your life, and that you can spend your entire life letting that one worry slow you down from following your dreams or taking the chance to move to another country. And so you got to, at some point, put your foot down and say, okay, fine. Yeah, I haven't saved enough for my retirement yet. But if I never go to the USA, if I don't go now, the next year it might be even more difficult. I got to go now. So consider that you'll always have a worry in your mind that will slow you down from taking the bigger opportunities, bigger chances in your life. And consider that, be honest with yourself about it, but also say, I've got to put that worry aside a little bit so that I can move forward with my dreams. So international education is a wonderful dream to follow. There's so much more than just your English skills that you're going to build by being in the USA. You're going to meet friendships that are going to last your lifetime. You're going to have friends from all around the world that you'll be able to visit when you travel the world in the future. I love seeing on social media friends of ours from Brazil going to Italy and meeting their friends from Connect English now in Italy.
Oh,
and,
wow.
and now they've got kids, and their kids are meeting each other for the first time. And those friendships started because they sat next to each other on that first day of classes at Connect English. I've seen students who've gotten married to each other after meeting at Connect English, and they have children now. There's so much more than just grammar and vocabulary that you'll get from an international education experience. And I think maybe the most valuable of that is the friendships that you'll get for the rest of your life. And I love playing a part in building those friendships through the activities that we do. Our classes are going to do a lot for that, but I love planning, baseball game trips and hiking activities where these friendships blossom. And that is the icing on the cake of international education, is the friendships.
Fantastic. I'm really, really driven. Where do I start if I'm a student from Algeria or somewhere online? Can you leave us with some resources or website,
Yeah.
where people can learn about Connect English?
There's really three things that I urge students to take a look at when they're considering selecting Connect English. Of course, number one is our website, which is very easy. It's connectenglish.edu. That's nice and simple. The second thing I tell students to take a look at is our social media. Just go to our Instagram. It's very authentic. We don't have professional photographers coming to the school and then a social media agency doing all of our Instagram for us. You know who does the Instagram for Connect English? It's me.
Wow.
Okay. And you know who's at school every single day interacting with our teachers and students? It's me. So when you go on our Instagram, which is just at English, you'll find it very easily. Just Connect English on Instagram. You'll see it. You can see literally, we started Instagram in 2013. So you can now see 9 years of history of our education, our activities, our services. So check out our Instagram. And then third, read our reviews on Google. We're very proud of the strength of our Google reviews. You'll see a couple of bad ones where a student was unhappy about something, but you're going to see largely a rating by a large number of students. We just crossed the 400 reviews mark last week. So we were pretty proud. I'm trying to put together some social media to celebrate 400 authentic reviews from students. And sometimes in other languages, we say, if you want to write your review in Korean, go ahead. If you want to write your review in Spanish, it's fine, because someone in Mexico or someone in Bolivia is going to appreciate being able to read the review in Spanish. So those three things are where I would start, in that order. Start with our website to get basics about what it's going to take to join our school. Number two, if you want to get an authentic view of what our school has, it's our Instagram. Facebook too, of course, but Instagram is really the epicenter of our social media experiences. And then number three is go read our Google reviews. We're very proud of our students' feedback, and all three of those things are going to give you an authentic picture of what you can expect from Connect English. We don't want to oversell anything or be dishonest about what you're going to get when you get here. We want you to, what you see is what you get with Connect English. We're for real.
And that's very, very rare these days. Thank you so much, Nicholas. This has been an interesting and very insightful, and I've kept the drive and the energy that was coming from you. So thank you for sharing.
You're a great host. You're great. How long have you been doing this podcast?
About 2 years now.
Yeah,
So-
I could tell. Your experience is great. The way you segued the questions is like, woo, this is a good host. Okay. So, all right. But yeah, I'm happy to be here. And if you'd like to do anything in the future, I'm always available as well. I love being part of the media of this industry. So thanks. I'm happy to have been invited.
Thank you so much. And if you want to learn more about what Forstay does, check us out at forstay.com. And until our next episode, thank you so much, Nicholas.
All right. Thank you.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Education and Empowerment Podcast. This show is brought to you by Forstay, a SaaS-enabled online booking marketplace for student and intern housing. Forstay provides turnkey, all-in-one cloud-based accommodation software solutions for colleges, universities, and organizations. Learn more at offcampus.forstay.com and landlords.forstay.com.